Tomorrow, if you lost everything you have, everything you have earned, and everything that you own, would you still be as strong as you are now? Would you still be composed, unflustered, moral, and genuine as you claim to be? Or would you lose the grip, be lost in the chaos of tragedy, and simply give up? Something similar happened with Zeno of Citium as he was traveling from Phoenicia to Piraeus in his ship. He suffered a shipwreck, lost all of his cargo, his important works and books. After this shipwreck, he ended up in Athens around 300 BCE. As Zeno was wandering in Athens, he entered a bookstore where he came across the writings and philosophies of Crates and Socrates. This was the turning point for Zeno and substructured his philosophy. Influenced and inspired, Zeno began to teach and educate others at Stoa Poikile. All aspiring youth and philosophers used to gather and share insights there. Of course, it was not called as Stoicism back then. Initially, it was an eponym. It was called as Zenoism. It later on gained the name of Stoicism. These teachings and philosophy gained widespread attention as it was open to everyone, including children, women of any class, and was greatly influential. Stoicism emphasizes on living a virtuous life, provides means and principles to achieve that state, and tries to reduce negative emotions and maximize happiness. The Stoics argue that one's beliefs and thoughts form the world one inhabits and not external circumstances, so one is ought to take responsibility and accountability for their mind. This school of philosophy is significant as it teaches self-control and self-discipline. It highlights the nature of reality and tries to teach people to accept it as it is and accommodate accordingly. We do not and cannot control external events in life, but we can control ourselves and how we respond to those events. For instance, imagine that you are well dressed, you've put your shiny shoes on, and you're ready to go to work or to meet your friends. As you're taking a walk, it starts raining and you're drenched. What would be the proper reaction here? To get angry? To curse the nature and rain? To complain and lament about your luck and fate? Of course, we all would experience these emotions. We might even exclaim gallantly, "Oh, I wish I had taken my umbrella." Stoicism emphasizes on this and precisely provides a solution. You must realize that you're not feeling angry or sad because it rained. You're feeling that because you were simply not prepared for it. Any pain and misery in this world is never inconceivable or unexpected or unknown. But it's sudden, and that's a problem. We all deep down are aware of the pain and misery. We know and observe the world, so we are quite familiar with it. But we are afraid because it can happen anytime, any moment. So the Stoics have provided a crucial exercise. They called it the premeditatio malorum, which means visualization of negative outcomes. It's about imagining the worst possible scenarios, the worst what ifs, and the possibilities of losing everything. This has helped many Stoics in maintaining and developing the undefeatable mindset. It prepares us to be resilient, strong, and composed in the face of uncertainty. As Seneca has said, the whole future lies in uncertainty. So live immediately. Be prepared and be ready. Get your act together now. Only then you will be able to get up and strike back at life. Stoicism is not only a philosophy of acceptance, but also resilience. Stoicism has benefited and inspired many great minds. It was never limited to any class or group. Anyone who willingly practiced it became composed, stable, and eventually successful. Some of the well-known Stoics include Epictetus, which translates to acquired, as he was born into slavery. He says, "We must ever bear in mind that apart from will, there is nothing good or bad, and that we must not try to direct events, but merely accept them with intelligence." Seneca the Younger, who was a renowned statesman, says, "Man is affected not by events, but by the view he takes of them." And the most powerful and influential Stoic, the famous emperor Marcus Aurelius, says, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." If you study all these influential Stoics, you will find they all had a similarity or common trait. They did not waste any time on complaining or talking about their life events and tragedies. Instead, they focused on their duties and actions, on what they can do. Duty is considered as a priority. No matter what happens, you are strong enough to overcome it all and continue your work and duty. In Stoicism, the pathways to simple and better life are delivered in the form of virtues. There are 4 Stoic virtues. Wisdom. Wisdom is the mediator of response. Wisdom gives us the power and control over our response, and we react accordingly. And wisdom comes from knowledge. Knowledge of yourself, your capabilities, and your limitations. Knowledge of what's moral and ethical. It is wisdom that initiates action. Second is temperance or moderation. It's about having self-control and regulating your desires and pleasures. Having what is essential and having what is enough. Not getting attached to materialistic goods or expectations. It means being in control of yourself and being aware of yourself. Third is courage. Life is a constant process of struggle, and it demands enormous amounts of courage. Courage is an act of power. It is done with utmost will and genuinity within the heart. Only few people are brave enough to look at tragedy, face misfortune, and yet not lose themselves, their principles, and morality, and be resilient enough to fight back. It is courage that guides a man in a moment of darkness. Fourth is justice. It includes our duty towards each other. It includes use of the other 3 virtues for not only self-interest, but for other people too. It highlights that our lives are not meant to be lived for us alone, but for others as well. We must realize that what endures the hive endures the bee. We need to acknowledge our needs and be fair and good to each other. This requires something more than courage and wisdom. It requires nobility and honor, something we all should strive for. These 4 virtues are the ultimate ways of being actually free and powerful. These are simple, specific, and extremely effective. One can easily attain the state which Stoics desire by simply following these virtues. These tell us that life is unpredictable, harsh, and tough, but we all are strong enough to handle it if we truly wish to. Virtues work as guides or markers in Stoics' life. This philosophy helps us attain stability, feel less pain, manage our emotions, be patient and better. Stoics do not focus on emotions, as the very nature of emotions is temporary. Instead, Stoicism teaches you to do your duty regardless of external obstacles with absolute passion and genuineness. Somewhat similarities can be found in ancient religion, Hinduism. In their sacred book, Bhagavad Gita, it is emphasized that a human should do their duty without any expectation of divine or materialistic reward and attain the state of sthita prajna, that is, not feeling extreme emotions in either good or bad situations and not letting external phenomena affect your duty or actions, that is, karma. It doesn't mean you should negate your emotions altogether. It just means that you should be able to control them. Stoicism is a kind of philosophy that everyone should practice or at least know about, irrespective of their religious, political, and cultural background. Stoics, while speaking about emotions, are not suggesting that you should not have vulnerabilities, but are telling you to acknowledge and accept them and not to stop there. We must know our weaknesses and be able to overcome and control them. But we must not show it to the world, as the world remains unaffected by it. The philosophy of Stoicism attracts and influences many people, as this ancient school of thought helps people still. It is still impactful and effective. In a world filled with competition and hunger for attention, the overwhelming tragedies and constant hammering of pessimism, Stoic philosophy brings hope to people. It works as a catalyst in our day-to-day lives. No matter what obstacle or misfortune is presented to you, Stoic philosophy teaches you to perceive, enables you with the means, motivates you with noble principles, and guides your actions rationally. It encourages people to act, reflect, explore upon their true potential. In a modern day world, it is much needed. Not thinking about success and outcomes and just enjoying the process and striving for self-improvement is something that is often ignored. Whether be it a startup business or YouTube channel, you can only do your part, give your 100%, and leave the rest, which is not in your control. Whether people will like it or not is not your concern. You must continue your work. Whenever I come across a problem that makes me want to give up, I like to think that for each obstacle I get, there's thousands of people who have prevailed over the same. So what's stopping me? And when I read about people like Marcus Aurelius or even Viktor Frank, I realize life is nothing but an act of sailing among the storm, an act of constant resilience. And I find strength in that. And somewhere among that strength, I find peace.